All right, my good people, here we go. Episode 2 of the free game web series is here. Listen, keep the feedback coming. I'm loving the text messages. I'm loving the comments. I'm loving the private messages. Man, we're hitting some nerves here, man. We're getting some good feedback. And really, I'm just excited that it's really coming together the way that I thought it would. Again, even if this reaches one person, 5, 10, 20, doesn't matter. If anybody gets anything positive out of this web series that can, again, help change their life and their family's lives, man, then it's all worth it. So keep them coming. Super excited about it. Quick recap of episode 1, knowing your numbers. I hope you did your homework, right? I hope you looked at your finances, and I hope, and I'm sure you did find some places where you can cut around the edges to save some money. I know it's there. It is there. Trust me, it's there. If you didn't find anything, you didn't look hard enough. So, look harder. All right, so here we go. And I hope what you've gained from this thus far is that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme, all right? We don't do that. We don't do get-rich-quick schemes. We're about building habits, right? Successful habits that will last a lifetime. Those habits can then be passed on to your children, to your friends, so that they can start early, so that then they can start to build wealth and make smart decisions, right? That's what this is about, man, building this thing from the ground up. So episode 2, let's go. It's underway. What are the topics? What are we talking about? Living below your means. Ooh. Listen, we're about to get into it. Living below your means, all right? Inflation. What is inflation? I call it the silent thief. He's there. He's going to get you, right? You got to know how to fight back, right? Inflation. And then at the end of it, okay, basically, why invest, right? That's what we're touching on today. So as always, episode 2 is kicking off. Let's go. Okay, that's a little corny, but whatever. All right. So living below your means. Okay, this is also important, right? Living below your means brings down anxiety, right? If you can afford a $300,000 house, why not buy a $200,000 house? If you can afford a car payment that's $350 a month, why not find one that's about $200 a month, right? And again, so on and so forth with every way, everything. Sort of look at those numbers. Why, right? When you live below your means, one, right, you don't have to build as big of an emergency fund, right? Make common sense. If you can afford expenses that's worth $4,000 a month, but you're only spending $2,000 a month, now guess what? That's more cushion to play with, and you don't have to have as big of an emergency fund. And why is an emergency fund important? Again, if someone loses their job or anything, you can have money to rely on without pulling money that you've invested out of the stock market, because you're going to lose compounding interest. And we're going to touch on that more in the future, okay? So having that emergency fund is super important. It's going to give you an air of confidence, right? It's going to give you less anxiety. Your family's going to feel secure and safe in knowing that we have a backstop that's going to help us in case things hit the fan, like we know they can happen. It can happen. It probably will happen, right? Have that there. All right. And again, also, why live below your means, right? Again, it's going to give you more money to invest. The more money you invest, the more money you can make. Living below your means is so important. I know it's not cool. It may not be flashy, okay? But we're not talking about flash. We're not talking about being cool. We're talking about building security, right? Being confident, being comfortable. This is what it's about. Living below your means, right? There may be ways you can cut this by cutting low-hanging fruit. And we're going to talk about the low-hanging fruit right now. I'm going to give you some numbers, right? This is what the average American spends on average on certain items. Here we go. Eating out. The average American spends $209 per month eating out. That's one person. So if you're married, if it's 2 of you, multiply it by 2. That's what? About $420 a month eating out. Drinks, right? Alcohol. Going out, having a good time, getting some drinks, whatever have you. The average American spends $188 per month. Takeout, right? Buying lunch at work. Not taking lunch to work, buying lunch. $173 on average per month. Impulse buying, right? Going into a store, seeing something you didn't plan on buying, but you loved it so much, you had to get it. About $108 per month. You see where this is going? So all these things added up, a few other things that I didn't mention that Americans not overspend, but spend on, that comes to about $763 per month. So again, Americans have the money to invest, they're just spending it elsewhere. It's a decision that you're making. And it doesn't matter how much money you make. This isn't a matter of how much money you make. It's about putting aside the money that you do make so that's more productive for you. All right? So all those things I just mentioned, that comes to about $763 per month that you are already spending on average. Again, it could be a little bit lower, could be a little bit higher depending. That's an average number. So if you took that $763, right, and invested it every month for the past 5 years to today, guess how much money you would have based on a very low end of what a typical mutual fund or a typical index fund would have performed at over the past 5 years. This is on the low end, right? I'm just going to give you low end numbers. If you earn 10% on that money that you've invested every single month for the past 5 years, right now you would have in your investment accounts $60,832. Let's just say you didn't even do the whole 763. Let's just say you did half of that, about $381. If you invested $381 per month into the stock market for the past 5 years, today you would have about $30,000, $30,376. Kind of getting the point? It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you spend. Okay, again, so what does the average American have right now in a savings account? Right now, in a savings account, the average American has anywhere from $1,000 to about $3,000, somewhere in there, in a savings account, not retirement accounts, in a savings account. But on average, they're spending about $763 per month on items that they really don't have to spend on. So again, the money is there to invest. It's there. It's there. Okay, so looking at your numbers, knowing your numbers, finding out where you can cut the low-hanging fruit, most likely eating out, drinking, ordering lunch from work for the month, impulse buying, all of those things. If you just made a half of a change to what you're doing, 5 years from now, you could have anywhere from about $30,000 to $60,000. Like I said, the game is free. It's free. The discipline, sold separately. Shout out to Larry David. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Let's go!